2010 Silverado that we're going to be doing pretty much a complete engine reseal. It was leaking from everywhere. Front cover, oil pan, rear main seal, valve covers. I think the oil pressure switch was also leaking, but they had already replaced that, so we didn't need to do that here. And as you can see, it's been leaking for a good bit. Here I already have the transmission down, and let's see, the exhaust is off, or out and off at the same time. That's what I was trying to say. Anyway, you could see that it was leaking pretty bad from the rear end of the valve covers there, and the rear main seal housing was also leaking. You could tell. I didn't get to record that, but here the oil pan is also leaking from that like oil cooler adapter. I'm going to be lifting the engine using a screw jack here just because the transmission's out and it's hanging down a lot. And normally if I'm just doing a transmission, that's fine. But since I'm going to be taking the pan off, I want to lift that engine up a little bit. I also just let the rack and pinion hang a little bit. I remove all the bolts and I kind of just let it swing down so that I can have all this access right here to the oil pan since it's going to be coming off. And this was a nasty job. It was all covered in oil. Everything was just covered in oil, so it was nasty. And here we go. The pan is off, and it's over there on the floor. I wanted to do the front cover and the rear main seal before I do the pan. I'm pretty sure most people would do it the same way. I don't think anybody would do the pan and then put the covers on. It kind of doesn't make sense. But I wanted to do the front cover and the rear main seal before I did the pan. So here I'm doing the front cover seal, putting that on. It's installed. I use a straight edge to make sure that I'm kind of aligned with the, kind of like simulating that the oil pan is there, so you kind of want to be as straight as possible. And same on the other end, you kind of, because it can be tweaked. They do sell tools to align that seal in the front, where like the crankshaft comes out of, and where the crankshaft the harmonic balancer would go on. But I do it like this, and it seems to work out fine. I don't get any issues or have any issues from all the ones I've done. And for the rear main seal, they got me the complete housing, so I'm just gonna install that too. And I do the same thing. I just simulate an oil pan on there with a straight edge. Like I said, always works for me. Make sure it's good. Make sure there isn't too much of a gap or anything. And I usually try to get the machine surfaces because that gasket will protrude a little bit. So if you put it on there, you're always gonna get kind of like a rocking thing. You won't get like a good seal, so that gasket gets pushed up by the new oil pan. And right there, I was somewhat a little bit late on this voiceover, but the original oil pan had the original gasket that's riveted on, so you need to drill that out. Here you need to put silicone on those four corners. If not, you will get leaks. It'll leak no matter what. So you need to put silicone on those four corners. And for the oil pan, I do the same thing on the machine surfaces. I put a straight edge with the machine surface of the engine block like that. It'll simulate where the transmission's gonna go bolted down to. And you want it to be as flush as possible. And right there, just making sure everything's good, kind of showing you guys how I do it. And all the back of that oil pan is machined, so it's not too difficult to get it to line up. I just kind of have all the bolts just slightly, like, not finger tight, but just tight enough to where you can still move most of these things and adjust them when you need to. But here, everything's already bolted down and torqued down. That's where the silicone goes. As you can see, the engine's looking a lot better, a lot less oily. And right here, I'm putting a thread locker on the flex plate bolts because, if I'm not mistaken, those oil can come out through there. So you want to seal it up pretty good. Now jumping to the top of the engine, we're going to be doing the valve covers also. And these are pretty easy. You take off the what do they call it, the coil packs, and they're held on by a bunch of 10s. I think it's 5 10 millimeters with a kind of like a stud bolt. You remove those and the coil packs come out as a complete unit. Beneath that is going to be the valve cover with 4 8 millimeters. That's just pretty straightforward. You just remove those and the valve cover will pop off. Sorry, I'm kind of all over the place with my voiceover right now, but just some of this have been recorded for a while. So I do jobs in between some of these jobs. So especially this one, since it had so much work to get done on it, I kind of just take clips when I can. These are the new seals for the valve cover, and they go on the bolts. The old ones, I kind of just use some pliers and rip the old ones off, and the new ones will slide on a lot easier just because they're actually malleable and soft. I put some super lube on there just so they pop in a little bit easier. And here you can see the valve cover gasket is just crispy and is the main reason why it's leaking. It's already hard and it's not creating like a good seal. Whereas the new one's soft and it'll kind of like squish down and create a seal and you won't leak any oil. These don't need any silicone or anything like that, but you do need to wipe it all down. And if it does have a little bit of residue from the old gasket, like some of it stays stuck on there since it's been pressed on it for so long, you will need to scrape it off with like a razor or something. Here, I'd always get these started by hand just because they have such a long way to travel to go down, and they can go in like crooked, and I'd rather just find it and finger start it so that I can use a power tool on it later on and then torque it down. But that was just like a demo. Here it's all put together. Valve covers, coil packs, the water pump's back on, the harmonic balancer's back on. Everything's on there, looking good. Here's the underside. Super clean now. Well, I mean, not super clean, but way better than it was. And yeah, I mean, it was a dirty job, and now it's clean and with the new transmission also. So truck should be good to go for another decent amount of time. Thanks for watching.